Hey everybody, welcome back to A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beast. I'm Joe Labriola.
And I'm Matt Wagner.
And today we're talking about the 16th Iron Maiden studio album, released on September 4th, 2015, The Book of Souls, the longest studio album to date from Iron Maiden and the first double album by the band. Just want to apologize, guys. We've been away for a while and a lot of stuff's been going on, but don't you dare think that we're gonna cut back on this podcast. We are filled with love and joy and happiness for this 16th studio album.
Finally get to the end of all the studio albums here.
Yeah, this is something really big for Matt and I too. I mean, we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff with this. Me personally, just recently I came back from a cruise to actually Mexico, and I got to visit a ancient Mayan temple. So.
Your own Book of Souls.
Yeah, I mean, I wore a Book of Souls t-shirt when I was on top. If you guys hit up the Instagram page later, when you listen to this podcast, I'm going to post that video, and you'll see me on top of the temple, and I'll post some photos too. But really, really awesome to be up there and see that, and really made the album and just the love I already had for the album and the band resonate with me even more. So,
I mean, can you believe it's been, like we were just talking about before we started the podcast, how long it's been since this album came out already? I mean, it seems like
yesterday, man. Yeah, and it's been over 3 years.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, we're wrapping up the last quarter of the 2018 year. It's December, and the album came out September 4th, like I said, 2015. So you're talking about over 3 years ago here, and wow. Another thing too that I just wanted to mention. I know this is kind of like a little trivia thing for me before we dive into the album, but really fortunate too that it seems like every birthday, because my birthday's in September, that I get these awesome nostalgic moments in my head about like remembering the history of release dates for Iron Maiden, because Powerslave came out on September 3rd of 84. Somewhere in Time came out on September 29th, and Dance of Death came out on September 8th. 03 for Dance of Death and 86 for Somewhere in Time, but it seems like when my birthday rolls around, I'm just like, man, Powerslave, awesome. Somewhere in Time, awesome. Dance of Death, cool. And then, Book of Souls, and it's like, so cool. And for Matt, I kind of have a tidbit in here too, because he's a Gemini, and he has the May birth month. And it's funny, because Somewhere in Time is my most relatable album that came out in September, my birth month. Peace of Mind came out May 16th, 1983, Matt's birth month. It's kind of weird. And he also has Fear of the Dark, which came out May 11th, 92, and Brave New World, which came out a day after his birthday, May 29th of 2000. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting, I think.
Some universal connection going on.
I think some kind of weird link to Iron Maiden with us. And honestly, I kind of believe that. It's really cool. It's really cool. And I think about that when I see that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Pretty awesome. Like I said, this is the longest studio album at 92 minutes and 11 seconds. 92 minutes and 11 seconds of Iron fucking Maiden music. Unbelievable. Double CD. Just to put that in retrospect before we dive into the album here, The Final Frontier, the album that preceded it, was only 76 minutes and 34 seconds long. So you're talking about almost 20 more minutes of extra song. And yeah, that can be attributed to maybe Empire of the Clouds, but that's still, 20 extra minutes of Maiden music. Matter of Life and Death was only 71 minutes and 53 seconds. Dance of Death was 67 minutes and 57 seconds. Brave New World was 66 minutes and 57 seconds. So every single album they've released since the reunion has tried to be extended longer in terms of playability and listenability than the album before.
Does that mean we're getting a triple CD for the next album?
I hope so. That would be fucking unbelievable.
A 4 CD epic.
And guys, we're doing a part 2 of this podcast, Book of Souls part 2 after this. We're going to talk about the live chapter, talk about our own experience with seeing the live Book of Souls tour in 2017 in Washington, D.C. Matt and I did June 3rd, 2017. It was fucking awesome. We're going to talk about that. And we got a little treat to talk to you guys about for next year that's going to be happening with us too. We got some really cool shit going on in terms of Maiden stuff. So stay tuned for that. But let's dive into the album. This is the first album also to be released on Parlophone Records after EMI, the band had a contract with EMI Records for 30 years, and it kind of dissolved. They sold bits and pieces to different music companies across the world, and now they're back on Parlophone, which was the parent company of EMI back in the day. The first song on the album, If Eternity Should Fail. What do you think, man? Why don't you talk about this one? Because I've been just shooting the shit over here. So.
I mean, this is the first song solo written by Bruce, and since the whole reunion, I believe. I mean, you'd have to go back to, back in the day of the classic albums to find another song that was exclusively written by Bruce. Lately, they've all had Steve or Adrian part of the writing team. I believe the story behind this is that Bruce wanted to write another solo album, and he had these couple songs planned for the album, and for whatever reason, his plans for the solo album fell through. And he decided to, almost gift these to the band and be, his contribution to the album was this idea. And it's, I think, not since Sign of the Cross has an album opened like this with a big epic.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. In terms of, I think they tried to do it with Final Frontier with Satellite 15 and stuff, but that
different.
Song is, it's not comparable to this, man. I think you're right. I think Sign of the Cross in comparison with this is, I
think Satellite 15 awesome. Final Frontier was like a piece added to the front. This is definitely like part of the song. It was 100% part.
And like Matt said, this was for Bruce's solo album. I think Steve actually heard this because they were trying to spitball ideas and stuff for this new record, and he was like, "That's awesome! It fits perfectly." Who wrote it? And Bruce was like, "Oh, I did." And then there was like another song called like Nightmares or something that was Bruce Dickinson, and I think Roy Z had writing credits on it. If you guys know who Roy Z is, he's a guitar player and the producer of Bruce Dickinson's solo stuff, a lot of it. And he wrote a song with Bruce called Nightmares, and Steve wanted to use that too, but he couldn't because Roy Z had writing credits. So they took this, and like Matt said, I mean, it's just an epic opener. If Eternity Should Fail, I mean, and how does that fit into the theme of the mind thing? And I think it fits into, like, the end of the world. And if you guys listen to the Book of Souls song, it's like just the destruction of an entire civilization, the end of the Mayan calendar, the end of the world. If eternity should fail, in other words, like if life should just come to an end, like for everybody. I think it's a pretty powerful thing to talk about. And like Matt said, a really great song. And thank God Bruce let the band use it because it's a hell of an opener. Like Matt said, probably one of the best in song.
I mean, like lately they'd been opening with kind of these short rockers. I mean, you had Wicker Man, which is awesome, but it's a shorter rocker. Mm-hmm. Wildest Dreams, Different World, kind of same-ish. And then even the Final Front, tier part of Satellite 15 is same vein, short rocker. Mm-hmm. And this is like, it's not a short rocker. It's kind of like this mid-range kind of like, I don't know. I mean, it's like straight, it's pretty heavy. It's kind of like very heavy metal for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, man, it's like a borderline epic. I mean, it's almost like a Bruce epic. Yeah. It's like Bruce would write this song on a solo album, and that's
what it is, yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, it's like Chemical Wedding almost sounding, and it's fucking great. Like, I love it. I love the beginning, too. Like, here is the soul of a man. I mean, I love it. And when he says Black Dog in the Ruins is howling my name, here's the soul of a man.
I mean, you just get the Mayan temple ruin in the jungle.
Exactly.
Like, those pictures just come to your head when you hear the song.
The soul of a man. The album's called The Book of Souls. Like, it's fucking perfect. Like, no wonder when Steve saw it, he was like, oh, yeah, we're fucking using that. Like, it's perfect.
I mean, I love that line, like, time to speak with the shaman again, conjure the jester again. Black Dog in the Ruins is howling my name.
There it is again. Yeah, he just said the same way. It's perfect.
So here's the soul of a man.
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, we saw this live, and we'll talk about it in the next podcast. But perfect opener.
Oh, absolutely, man.
For the album. Not only is it like, it's not just a song that opens the album. It is a album opener. Like it literally sets the mood for the album.
Yeah, man, and in terms of, like you said, we just rattled off all these openers of the reunion albums. It might be on par with Wicker Man. I mean, it's up there with that. Like, it's probably these two,
I think it's kind of, like, transcendent in the way that it's, like, it works with the album. Mm-hmm. Like, if you just listen to that song by itself, it's kind of like...
Almost kind of like Seventh Son, sort of, with some of those songs.
Yeah, like Moonchild. It's kind of, like, similar to that. Like, it sets the theme for this album. It's not a concept album, but it is thematic.
Yeah, I never thought of that before until you said that. You know what? And hearing you say that, yeah. Now that I sit here and think about it.
I mean, it might be the best, if you consider it with the album, it might be the best album opener they've done since Moonchild. for what it means to the album.
Absolutely. That's a good point. That's a really good point. I know there's one more part of the song that you want to talk about, and that's the ends.
Yeah, there's. I just want to mention one other lyric I did really, really like is the part when he's like, when the world was virgin before the coming of man, just solar witness, the beginning and the end. I mean, some of these lyrics are just
unbelievable.
We are strange believers, all of us. These are stranger truths and mortal lust.
Yeah.
We rise from slumber. He calls her name. Recalls her number. Abide with. And he's like, pain. To God's illusion, which I recall was our delusion before the fall. I mean, Bruce is like killing it with these lyrics.
He is.
I mean, it's just a great, great song. And then at the end, I mean, like the part he wrote there, like, good day, my name is Necropolis. I am formed of it. What was going through your head when you first heard that?
Matt and I don't know if we talked about this yet on any previous podcast or anything. We certainly didn't talk about it on this one, but
I don't think we ever talked about it.
When Matt and I we talk about this, we get pumped for an album. When I heard Speed of Light, like that was the first single they released, I was like, oh man, that's gonna be like Final Frontier. Final Frontier was that album. I was stoked for it, but when I heard El Dorado, to be honest, I was like, that's all right. I'm not really. I think I told Matt, I was like, that reminds me of like Fear the Dark sounding stuff, like which I'm not really a big fan of. So I was like,
it's kind of plain. Yeah, it's a little plain. Yeah.
And when I heard Speed of Light, I was like,
same feeling. Yeah, you kind of thought this was going to be Final Frontier Part 2.
Yeah. And then, like Matt just said, when I heard these lyrics and I listened to Eternity Should Fail at the end, I remember because he told me, like, I was at the gym working out, and he's like, dude, the album's out, dude. Oh my God, you listen to it yet? And I was like, oh no, dude, I have it. I'm ready to get it when I get home. And he's like, dude, you have to listen. Let me know what you think. And I heard, when I got home that day from the gym, I listened to Eternity Should Fail, and I basically texted him, like, after every song I listened to, what I thought. And I was like, dude, that fucking ending, where he's like, my name's Necropolis, I am formed of the dead. He was like, dude, exactly, it's so fucking weird, what's up with that? Like, we just had, like, this discourse on it. It's they've never done anything like it before. It's like something they would have done. It reminds me almost of like the middle part with the whispering and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner with Samuel Taylor Coleridge stuff. It reminds me of like just this epic, he is born the seventh one, born of woman the seventh son, like that kind of shit. Like just like Matt said, and that ties into that. I mean, it's really thematic part of the album. Like
yeah,
it just
there's nothing else like it in the whole Iron Maiden catalog. Is like it really makes the song. It puts that little extra on the song that makes it like really memorable, and not just another song that they've written.
And I love at the end when he says, "What humanity I knew I have long forgotten. For me, eternity is nothing but a short while," and then it just fades out. It's like if eternity should fail, eternity is nothing but a short while. Like, is this a mind God talking to me right now? Who is this?
It's almost like, to me, it reminded me of like. Yeah, like a God looking down. It's like a changing of the age. It's like he's watching us, and it's just this mind civilization rose and fall, and
just like humanity is going to rise and fall.
Yeah, it's really, really, really cool.
I love it, man. I love it. Nothing but good things to say about that opener. Thank you, Bruce. Another thing I love about the song too that we didn't really touch on. I love that fucking solo by Adrian. That outro solo. It's just. We'll talk about more of that when we talk about the live stuff, but his outro solo on that, just wow.
Yeah,
it's
just first song on the album, and it's like it's not even in the top, couple songs of this whole album.
And it's so great.
And yeah, like it's something that was missing in Final Frontier to me was the attention to the mid songs of the album, the meat,
Yep.
That's where this album I think like really shines is that the middle songs in this album are awesome, the epics are awesome, of course, but that's what they put that little extra attention, I think, from Final Frontier.
Absolutely. What about Speed of Light?
Speed of Light, I think, is just that song they wrote at the end, just to put out a single. Mm-hmm. Singles don't mean anything anymore, really. It's just a song they put out there that Adrian wrote and with Bruce and Steve. It's just a song that they typically write nowadays to put a music video to. They don't put a lot of effort into it. You can kind of tell there's not a lot of effort put into them. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think, I was reading somewhere an article about Speed of Light, and the person who directed the video said it was like basically a 25-year, 30-year celebration of video games, because Eddie goes through the arcade and he's playing all these games, and it's like futuristic, and it's kind of
the video is actually pretty cool. I like the video.
I think it's, and I was just going to say, like, in terms of like the Wildest Dream video and the Different World video, it's like way better.
I think out of all the videos they've done like recently, besides the one like showing concert footage or anything like that, it's the coolest.
I agree with you. Another thing that I want to say about it is I think you're right. And this, to me, is one of the weaker songs on the album just because I don't think it gels with the rest of the album.
Yeah, we talked about that before, that it was like it seemed like it was a Final Frontier album song.
It does. I think El Dorado would have been better on this album, and if I had to switch one, I think you put El Dorado on this, you put Speed of Light on Final Frontier, it could strengthen both of those albums.
Because El Dorado, the mythical city of it, was in South America.
Yeah, South America, which, mine's South America, Mexico, it makes more sense to me that way. But other than that, I mean, the song is catchy. It has some pretty decent lyrics. I'm not going to say they're fantastic or anything. I think it's better than Satellite 15, The Final Frontier. I do.
Yeah, certainly.
I think that could have been the opener for that album. Speed of Light. But
yeah, there's not a lot to it.
Other than that, yeah, there's really no. I mean, there is substance to it. I don't want to say there's no substance, but Davey's solo, ridiculous. Adrian solo, ridiculous. those are pretty much the highlights of the entire song.
Solos, yeah. That and the video are like the only things I really note about it.
And it's other than that, a decent song for single purposes only. Should have been on Final Frontier in my opinion, but let's move on because I mean, it's not that it's a bad song or anything. It's horrible, but
we have better stuff to talk about.
The rest of the album is just far superior to that. The Great Unknown, number 3.
The Great Unknown is I think this is the first song on the album that I really enjoy the production on.
Absolutely.
The guitars, the atmosphere, it really shines in this. The dynamics, how it starts out soft with the bass and then the guitars come in. I mean, it sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it, like you just said there, it reminds me almost the beginning, like the soft part. Almost a little bit like Journeyman, sort of. And then I love how you just said the dynamics of it, because they start off really, really slow, and then Nick does that thing on the drum, it's like, and then they just go into the heavy, like...
It's so heavy, like, heavier than... I think this album's, like, heavier than any Iron Maiden album they've done. It's just, the guitars are thick.
It's ridiculous, and speaking of guitars, this album is filled with fucking solos. Like, there are solos in here, like, this song alone, every guitar player fucking solos. I mean... Davey has a solo. Actually, the first person who solos in the song is Yannick. Then it goes back into the verse and the music. Then Adrian has a solo, and then right after Adrian's solo is Davey's solo, and it's just like back to back, just like shred. Like your face is just like shred. I mean, you're just like, holy shit.
You mentioned the guitars on this album were like the thing I really noticed when I listened to it the first time through. I mean, they're just all on fire. All 3 guitarists.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed about this song too that like really stands out to me is Bruce's vocals. It's like you say, he starts off soft, and man, then when he comes in and sings those like lyrics, I mean, it's like God mode Bruce.
I love it.
I love the sound of his voice in this.
And you know how we talked about like on the X Factor and Virtual 11 how Blaze had this kind of like offbeat sound, and Bruce didn't really kind of do that. He doesn't really do it in this either, but I think it's like close to that. Like in some parts they try to emulate it, like the part where he says, "Where the sons are dying, hear their mothers crying, and the distant sound of fire," and all that stuff. Like, I love it. And then the transition from that, like, right into the never-ending, the desires of men, like, it's, I'll never be the same or come again. Like, it's fucking insane. Like,
but we just mentioned with the first song, If Eternity Should Fail, like, to me, what makes this album stand out more in the Final Frontier is, again, this is just a middle-of-the-road song on this album. Mm-hmm. This isn't even, like, one of the best songs of the album, and it's still awesome. Yeah, it's just something that was missing on Final Frontier.
Yeah, it's like...
The attention to detail, the dynamics, the way the chorus changes, I mean, it's just everything.
And the whole idea of the Great Unknown, too, like, I love that, too, like... And the one line that I love in the song is when he says, "It'll be the damnation and end of us all." Like, it goes back to If Eternity Should Fail, like, the whole theme. Mm-hmm. Like, eternity's gonna fail, damnation and end of us all, like, the end of civilization. Like, it's fucking perfect. Like, it fits into that Mayan calendar theme. Like, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's not about the Mayans or anything, but it fits. It just fits the album. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's more... I think that's what's great about this album in particular, too, is, like... It kind of is ambiguous that way. Like,
yeah, it could be. It actually could be.
It makes you think about the Mayans, but it also makes you think about yourself. I think Maiden does that a lot, like, really, really heavily, though, in this album. Like, throughout, it's, like, it's relevant. It's And you know what? Like, I never really thought of it until Matt even mentioned that, if eternity should fail, it's like Seventh Son, but instead of using, like, premonitions and clairvoyance and that kind of stuff, it uses mind civilization as its segue to reveal that. And I think it does a better job than Seventh Son, honestly.
In a way, yeah.
In my opinion. Musically, too, I think sonically it's heavier, like Matt said. The stuff is just it's like Maiden at their apex. I mean, they've been playing together now for, 30, 40 some years together. It's like, it's fucking transcendent. Like, I'll say it now, like, this is only the third song on the album, and I'm just, like, sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? Like, wow. Like, I'm thinking of it. I just watched a live chapter today, saw just bits and pieces of it, and it's just, wow. I mean, like, it's unbelievable, and it makes me think of when Matt and I went and saw it, last year. It was just how amazing it was just to sit there and see it.
Yeah, they actually played the Great Unknown for us on the that leg of the tour. It was great. It's a great live song, too.
Amazing. And then now we move on to the fourth song on the album. I don't think that Matt and I would disagree that this is probably our favorite song on the entire record. Probably one of the greatest epic songs that Steve has written, since the '80s, or at least since Passchendaele, and that's The Red and the Black, based on the novel by Stendhal. If you guys never read the novel, give it a shot. Give it a look. It's really good.
This song is like a tour de force of songwriting by Steve and composing and everything. Like, it may be his most well put together song he's ever written.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a crowd pleaser. The crowd parts in it are ridiculous. It is up until you get to later in the album, it's the second longest song that Iron Maiden has ever written. It's like almost as long as Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
It has that feeling too of rhyme, but the difference is that this song never slows down. Mm-hmm. It's just from start to finish. It's just like straightforward Iron Maiden heavy metal.
Yeah, 13 and a half minutes of just destruction, and again, fits the album.
It's everything. It opens with that bass intro. Mm-hmm. Bruce's vocals are insane. Mm-hmm. Nico's just drumming the whole way through, just nonstop. As fast as they play, and he's just drumming along, and then the guitars, all three get the shine in this song. Yeah,
all three get the shine, and again, Adrian solos first, Yannick has a solo, and then Davey solos, and then Adrian solos again. So it's like 4 fucking solos in the song. Like, it's ridiculous. And another thing that Matt mentioned, I remember this probably a year or so ago, and or 3 years ago, when this album first came out, Matt and I were talking about it. We were super excited just listening to the record together. Some parts in here are harken back to some older Maiden stuff. You can hear bits and pieces of the Trooper, almost. And
yeah.
The lyrics, the verses kind of sound like the Trooper a little bit. There's some parts in there that kind of sound like Benny Bree, kind of a little bit. Really interesting, and that's awesome that they can tie that together like that. A little bit of the old, a little bit of the new, and make something completely different and unique. It's
almost
ridiculous.
It's almost like the pinnacle of the modern Iron Maiden band in a way. The way it incorporates everything, because you have Davey plays the rhythm. Mm-hmm. And then Janik and Adrian play these melodic lines together, and it's it incorporates every single member of the band. You cannot play this song with 5 people. You need every member of the band to play this song, and they're all playing near their potential, their peak, and it's pretty incredible to hear and listen to. I mean, the lyrics in the song are incredible.
Oh my god, I can't even.
My favorite lyrics in this whole album are in this song.
What's your favorite? Go ahead and know.
Oh, my favorite probably line of this is probably the meanwhile we play the waiting game.
Love it.
The clock is struck, the horse is lame, and when we think that this is done, chance your luck, a 4-leaf one. I mean, they're all good actually. I mean,
I love it.
I mean, what's your favorite?
Well, like you said,
they're all good. The Blackjack King and the Red Queen clash. An artful Dodger. Counts his stash. Yeah, the Joker's wild like an impish child.
Madame Fortune, she waits inside. Yeah. And then it goes into the part that you love. I think when I first heard the song, I loved all of it. But I think my favorite line, because I was just talking about the Trooper and Passchendaele and Matter of Life and Death, and when I hear this line, I think about those albums. It's really weird how it has that kind of like, I don't want to say like subliminal messaging in my head, but like I see it that way. The good luck charm is overkill. The tireless soldier says fire at will. Planes overhead go search destroy. The ones below human decoy. I love that line. It reminds me of Aces High. It reminds me of Where Eagles Dare. It reminds me of the Powerslave album. It reminds me of A Matter of Life and Death with a tank on the front.
Yeah,
It reminds me of The Trooper.
I mean,
It's like
this is everything great. Everything great about Iron Maiden that they've ever done is in this song.
Yeah,
there's a piece of it in the song somewhere.
I think when Matt
it has the galloping, it has the guitars,
yeah.
it has the solos, it has Bruce's amazing vocals, it has Steve's bass.
And the transcendent, we always talk about on the epics that Steve wrote, like on Ram Nation Mariner, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, Alexander the Great, To Tame a Land, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Phantom of the Opera. The instrumentation, this song is fucking filled with all of that. And on top of that, like Matt just said, everything that the band does and every single thing that the band member does in this song, you can't do it without every single member. And if you guys have listened to the previous podcast we talked about album efforts, this album and this song is a prime example of a complete six-piece band. Everybody incorporates everything in the song.
This song is perfect. It's a perfect song.
Yeah, I
don't know how else to say it. It's just perfect.
It's like beyond perfect. It's like, it's literally like, as much as I love Rhyme the Ancient Mariner, that is my favorite Iron Maiden song. That is my favorite song of all time. This is close. I mean, I think when Matt and I did rankings of this song, it made it into like our top 10.
Yeah, and it just came out.
It just came out. Did that. It's like, how do you, a song that just came out and it's already in your top 10? Like, it trumped everything that came before. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Like, another great part about this song with the lyrics might be my favorite line, is when he says, how many chances can anyone have? I think it kind of sums up, the song in a way, is like what it's about. The red and the black is this guy gets all these chances to do the right thing. He keeps screwing up over and over and over again.
Yeah, let me, I don't know.
You read the book. You tell us about it.
There's a guy named, the character in the story, his name's Julian Sorrell. And the idea of the red and the black is, the red is the secular world, like the worldly world, like your material possessions, like, and the black is the clergy, like, Catholicism, religion, not to have worldly possessions, to don't be materialistic, that idea. Well, this guy named Julian Sorrell, he basically, there's a bourgeoisie in France. This is a French novel. It's written by a 19th century Frenchman, Stendhal. And the book is actually in two pieces. There's a book one and there's a book two. And in book one, this Julian Sorrell guy is trying to move up through the ranks of society in this bourgeoisie France. He doesn't come from like a rich family. He doesn't come from status. He ends up having like an affair with this lady who's married to like a bourgeoisie guy. And he gets banished and he has to go live in an abbey with these clergymen, and he sees both sides of the world. So he sees the material world and he sees the clergy world, and he feels like he falls under the mentorship of this one guy who like gives him tutelage, and then they realize they have to release him back into the real world eventually. And when he gets back out in the real world, he marries this, or he doesn't marry, he falls in love with this lady named Matilda. But the other lady also has feelings for him, and he wants to get married and do all this stuff, but she like refuses to grant his marriage and stuff because she still has feelings for him. So what happens is, because she doesn't want to let him live his life and love somebody, he goes with a gun into this mass and shoots her. And when he shoots her there, she gets wounded, so they put him in a chamber, like sentence him to die. And as he's being sentenced to die, he says, you know what? She comes in to rescue him, and he's like, no, just let me die. I don't care. Like, he's like, I've seen both sides of the world. I've seen the secular world and I've seen the religious world. He's like, both are corrupt. Both, you can't, everything. He's like, there's no way you're ever going to be able to let go of your possessions. Like, he's like, just life is so cruel. He's like, just let me die. So the whole idea of choosing between the red and the black is like impossible, basically, because like, you can't just choose. There is no black and white. There is no red and black. Like, there's shades of gray in between. And I think, like Matt said, like, that just sums up the whole idea. Anyway, he gets killed. He gets decapitated. And the one lady who tried to save him goes over and kisses, like, his his decapitated head is just laying there on the ground, and they'd be like a shrine for him, and it's like,
Yeah.
but it's a really good novel, and it's really awesome, and Steve does an awesome job of like conveying it, like alluding to it, like it's ambiguous, but it's
Yeah, I've seen lists before that like rank it as, you know, one of the greatest novels of all time. I mean, for its time and age, like it really is like.
It's really good. It's a good book. I own it. Man. If you want to borrow it, you can borrow it.
I mean, back to the song. I think that's the chorus of the song, and then like when you think that wasn't, you know, if this song couldn't get any better, I think what like really 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 shines in this song is that instrumental part. You get the solos. Mm-hmm. They're amazing, obviously. I mean, everybody's just soloing. Yeah. They're all really really great. And then it gets that instrumentation part at the end, and it's my favorite part of the whole song. The guitars and the emotion conveyed in there. I mean, it may be my favorite instrumental part in any Iron Maiden song. It's right up there to me with Phantom of the Opera and Rhyme in the Ancient Mariner.
Exactly, man. And that brings up a good point, because Matt and I saw this live, and when I watch it to this day, like I get teary-eyed. Because it has that Rhyme in the Ancient Mariner feel. Like it's the camaraderie of the band, the nostalgic experience I've had with it, just listening to it brings me that sense of just wow, it's so amazing to be alive. Which is funny because like that's the opposite of like the message of the song is, you know, like Bruce says at the end, like I need somebody to save me, you know, like. And this song, I'm listening to it like it's like Maiden is saving me right now. I love this song so much. Like you'd have the shittiest day ever for me anyway. And I could listen to the song and it would just like make me feel like instantaneously better. Because I'd be like just happy, so happy with joy and glee and nostalgia that I was able to see this band perform this song live, and that I'm alive to hear this music to this day. Like,
yeah, I felt like privileged as an Iron Maiden fan to, you know, listen to this song on the album, that they still, you know, care that much and put that much effort into a song. I mean, it's a lot of work to put a song together like that. And like I feel fortunate that Steve wrote this song, and then the guys, you know, put it together as well as they did, and it's produced amazing. I mean, this song sounds like the guitars in this song, the like synths backing. I mean, it's perfect. I don't know what else to say. Like it is top, you know, 10-5 Maiden song materials.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, everything you said, man, I echo it, and I know Matt say that a lot. You know, we're fortunate, but honestly,
I mean, like, where would you rank this in like modern Iron Maiden? The 6-piece band. I mean, it's right up there with Passchendaele.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's probably like the second, or it might even be better than Passchendaele. I mean, depending on the day, you know.
How I feel about it, like right now, like talking about it. I mean, it might be better than Passchendaele. Just how it's put together.
That's saying something. Yeah. You guys listen to the Dance of Death podcast and how much love and respect and admiration and joy and glee and the same kind of sentiment we have for this song with that. And we're saying this is better. I mean, it's hard to say. When a band does that for you, when a band puts out an amazing song that's epic and makes you feel just so much emotion and passion and joy to be alive, like, that tells you that they give a shit about you as a fan. Like, and to top it off, like Matt just said, we saw it fucking live. They could have played any song on this album. There's 11 songs on this album. They only usually play 5 or 6 from the album, and they pick fucking Red and the Black. It's like, thank you. I mean, like, thank you so much.
Seeing this live, like we'll talk about that more in like the part 2, but seeing this song live, it was really like one of like 2 gems I think we got to see live, and the crowd loved this song live, and I mean,
unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. That's about it. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Never seen anything like it.
Nope.
When the river runs deep.
Then we just got like that big giant epic and Red and the Black, and then River Runs Deep is such an awesome rocker. This is the stuff that really makes this album great. I mean, Adrian, thank you. Thank you for putting this song together. One of his best mid-range rockers he's ever done.
Adrian, you're my favorite guitar player in the band, and probably one of my favorite.
Yeah, come on the podcast.
One of my favorite guitar players, if not, you know, my favorite guitar player of all time. I love your style, I love your technique, I love the way you write songs, I love your solos. I love everybody in the band, you know. I love Iron Maiden, but one member, if I had to meet one person in the entire band, it's probably going to be Adrian. It's just, like Matt said, Final Frontier was missing something, and it's stuff like this. Who the fuck, like, plays the opening like it sounds like water's dripping? Like,
wait a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like a river's, like, flowing. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, it's so disgusting. Like, I can't even... And when I was just talking about, when Matt was talking about when the album came out, I was at the gym. Well, when I was at the gym, like lifting all the time, or I remember I would get on the treadmill after I just bench or like ran or did my entire like lifting set, and I would play this song on repeat on an elliptical or a treadmill for a half an hour straight, because when you're listening to it, like that one part where it's like, well, there's nothing to hide, going nowhere, take my chances and stand by this side. It's like, it just makes you want, it gives you so much energy. I just wanted to keep running and just like working out and just like, it just gave me so much energy.
I mean, like the attention to detail and the extras parts of this song that goes like with the rest of the album. I think the only other modern Iron Maiden album that really compared to is like A Matter of Life and Death. The effort they put into this album, these songs, just like your average songs on the album, are like awesome. They're like, they take like average songs and they make them good.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's like the only way I describe it. And this is one of my favorites on the album.
Absolutely, one of my favorites too, man. One that I would love to see live if I had to see, because we've seen a lot of great stuff from this album, and this is one that we didn't get a chance to see, and I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I wish they would have played. I think it would have worked live.
I would have rather seen this over
Great Unknown. I would have.
Well, I like Great Unknown a lot. I would have definitely rather seen this over Speed of Light.
Oh, yeah,
rather
100%.
seen this over. I know they played Tears of a Clown in 2016. I would have rather. I mean, we'll get to Tears of a Clown later, but this song destroys Tears of a Clown, in my opinion. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then again, the geniuses that Iron Maiden are. Guess how many solos are in this song? Does everybody get a solo? Every guitar player? What's the answer? The answer is yes. I mean, 3 solos. I don't know whose solos these are, but when I've listened to it, because I've never played it live, and just my ear, I don't know if I'm right or not, so if you guys know who it is, correct me. But if I hear the guitars right, I think Yannick solos first, then I think Davey solos, and then I think Adrian closes with a solo, if I listen to the song. I think it's in that order. I think it's Yann, Davey, and then Adrian. And Adrian's solo, obviously, is my favorite, but...
Adrian, I don't know if I ever realized this before, but just like sitting here is like Adrian's like owning this album right now. His solos are just, they're all kind of like, they all stick out.
Yeah, one staple that Matt and I talk about too, since the reunion, the writing credits, Adrian kind of was on Brave New World, didn't really have too many because he was just coming back in the band. I think he had 2, but
yeah.
After that he had like 3, 4, 5 credits on every album, which is ridiculous.
I mean, you could argue outside of Steve that he's been the best, the most prolific songwriter they have right now.
I would have to agree. I mean, if you think about it, we talk about it, I don't know if we mentioned the podcast or not yet, but without Adrian, how many bad albums have they had? I mean, and the answer for that is like pretty much 0.
They've never had a bad album with him, yeah.
They've never had a bad album since he was in the band, whether that be writing a solo. And he didn't really come into the band and start writing stuff like heavily until Somewhere in Time. But think about without Adrian's input on Somewhere in Time, what would you have? You wouldn't have Wasted Years. You wouldn't have Stranger in a Strange Land. You wouldn't have Sea of Madness. Without those 3 songs on that album, it's okay, but it's nowhere near as like fucking powerful and emotional as we always said, or progressive as we said towards that album. Adrian brings that progressive edge. And I was just telling Matt today. Recently, I had just watched the history part 3 of Iron Maiden, and we were talking about Moonchild, and I know this isn't Book of Souls, I know we're going off on a tangent here, but Adrian said, the beginning of Moonchild wasn't exactly what I wanted 100%, I wanted it to sound a little different. And what happened after Seventh Son? He left. So, I mean, like, and you see what happens after he left. I mean, you get No Prayer for the Dying and Fear of the Dark. For me, personally, I think those are the 2 worst Iron Maiden albums ever done. So,
yeah.
Like... Without him, like Matt said, the prolific songwriter that he is, like you cannot take somebody like that for granted. He is Iron Maiden, like as much as anybody else is in the band.
Absolutely.
And then after When the River Runs Deep, you get that catchy little rocker. It goes into the title track of the album, and this is the last song on the first CD of the album, the first disc, Book of Souls.
One of the better epics they've written. I mean, another great one. They don't write bad epics anymore, they're all great.
They don't.
And I know this one probably means a lot to you now too, especially getting to see the Mayan ruins firsthand. It probably means that much more to you.
Absolutely. Everything Matt just said. I mean, when I was there, I went to Mexico. I went to Coba. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it before. There's three ruins in Mexico. 3 ancient Mayan ruins that you can actually visit, but Koba is the only one that you can actually still climb and actually go to the top. When I was there, I climbed to the top of the ruins, and if you guys ever watched the movie Apocalypto, directed by Mel Gibson, you can really get a sense of what it would have been like to be there when the Mayans were there, I think, you know? And when I saw that, I was like, there's no way it was like this. But when I was standing there, like that image in my head of Apocalypto where the tribal chief cuts the guy's head off and throws it down like all these steps. I mean, I was actually, when I climbed the top of the ruins, they had the sacrificial stone where they used to cut the victims' heads off, and they bend them over the back of it and rip their hearts out. Like, if you guys look at the art, some of the art we'll talk about later for Book of Souls, you know, Eddie's a Mayan, and he's holding a heart in his hand and some of the stuff. Or, actually, for the Great Unknown stuff, he has the art for that, like the backdrop on the concert, he's holding a head. So, I mean, it's, to be there and
they're definitely knowledgeable about Mayan history and like what's going on. They're not just like writing a song out of their head. You know, like they actually know the stuff. Like Steve knows his stuff about what he's writing about.
Yeah, definitely. And just to be there, and the people and the native Mayan people who were there, like these native Mayans or native Mexicans, saw my shirt, the Maiden shirt, and they were like, Iron Maiden? Like, they would say that to me, and I was just like, fucking, this is amazing. Like, I'm in Mexico. I've never been to Mexico before. I've never talked to a Mayan or a Mexican person in my life. And the friendship and, like, the gratitude and the love they had for me because I was wearing that shirt was just immense. I mean, you have no idea. I cannot overstate that. I mean, somebody came up to me and was talking to me, and like, the one guy in the background of this trek we went on, we were on a bus. And when we got out, he threw the horns up at me, like the metal horns. And he was like, run to the hills. And I was just like, this is what it's about, man. Like, seriously. And that band, you have no idea how much respect they have. And, like, when we talk about, like, Matt and I, how much that means to us, like, Matt said in an earlier podcast, who knows if we'd still be friends, you know, if it wasn't for Iron Maiden. And who knows if I wouldn't be a learned person like I am right now, or decided to want to pursue my college education or go do these things. And for me to stand there on top of those Mayan ruins, if I never would have known Iron Maiden, yeah, it would have been awesome and it would have meant something to me. But knowing Iron Maiden and knowing this song and having the connection with this album made that so much more enjoyable and all that more worthwhile to me. It was just, I cannot describe it like in this podcast, guys. Like, even when I post that video up there, and I do post the pictures when we get to the posting of this, whenever that'll be, you know, and you guys see it, you're going to be blown away. But, like, you still, like, I can't even describe it, and I was there. Like, it's just, it's unreal. It's unreal, man. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's just, I thought, I was standing where a Mayan tribal chief who thought he was descended from, like, the gods was. And that whole idea of the song, like the lyrics where he says, the sun and moon, passing of old ways will come true soon. Like, the Mayans believed in the sun and the moon, man. It was like dualism. It was like there's good and evil. Like, there's the sun that comes up and, you know, is good, and when it goes down at night, it's the moon. Like, the sun god, when it came up, was the eagle. And when it went down to the underworld. And the animal that was in charge of the underworld was a jaguar, which was, you know, a huge Mayan, like, god. It's almost like Egyptian. This is why, when we talk about this song in particular, how it kind of connects to that Powerslave stuff, man. I mean, it's like, when this album first came out, people were saying it was Powerslave Part 2. Yeah. And to a certain extent, like, it is. Like, it's almost as monumental as Powerslave. I mean, for the modern era. It's going to be, like, and that show we saw, in terms of, like, theatrics and stage set design and what they're singing about, it's hard to fucking argue that it isn't. I mean, it's like, it is. It really is. It maybe not be, like, it maybe isn't the best, you know, the best album since the reunion, but it's fucking up there, man. Like, seriously, it's fucking up there. Like you just said, we gave A Matter of Life and Death a 10 out of 10, and this is, it's fucking...
I think it's the only other album, like, comparably to it, the way they put attention to everything. Mm-hmm. I think it falls short in a couple ways, but, like, getting back to the song, like, Book of Souls, one thing we haven't mentioned yet is Nico's drumming. I think Nico, when I first listened to this album, I think, like, that caught my eye was how much better Nico's drumming is on this album compared to, like, Final Frontier. Sometimes I just listen to this album and I just listen to Nico's drums.
I think it's one of the first things I said to you too.
Yeah.
We were driving to Pittsburgh or something to hang out or do something. I can't remember, going to like a Renaissance fair. I think maybe it might have been.
Maybe something like that.
And I think we both said that. I think I looked at you and asked the question like, dude, what's different on this album? And we just like looked at each other like, Nico's drumming is like, it's so much stronger. It's so much more spot on. Like, he feels more energized by the album.
Yeah, he has that crash cymbal, or I don't know if it's like I don't know what kind of like drum it is, but some sort of cymbal, and he does it during the chorus. He's like, tsh, tsh.
Amazing.
And it's like that little extra detail. I mean, it just brings that atmosphere to you of, it really transports you to, the Mayan civilization.
Absolutely, man. Sacrifices buried with kings. I mean, just incredible lyrics. The acoustic opening by Yannick. The like Matt said, the imagery, the sound.
Bruce's vocals, the atmosphere,
performance. You literally feel like Mayan civilization is rising and rising and rising and rising, and then at the end when they start singing about the lyrics about it collapsing, you feel like they're bringing it back down and making it collapse. Like, it's so fucking powerful, man. Like, and again, do we have to talk about solos again? Are you guys listening out there? Did I bore you with my Mexico story? I hope not, because fucking every guitar player in here fucking solos again. Everybody fucking solos again.
Yeah, actually, like, surprisingly, I really like Janik's solo in this. I think it's one of his better ones, not just of the album, but better ones he's done with Maiden.
Yeah, one of his greatest solos of all time. Davey's solo is first, and then Bruce says, the ancestors rule, and then Yen has his solo, like Matt said, which is incredible, and then right after Yen's solo, Mr. Smith.
Another great
Smith.
Adrian Smith solo. Repeating ourselves here.
How do you... And people... You know what? I'm going to say this now, because we're talking about the song and the title track and the album. I have watched album ranking reviews where people rank this at number fucking 16. Are you fucking out of your minds? Like, I was thinking about this today. Look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being an asshole for saying this, but this is my opinion, okay? If you don't like the Book of Souls, I don't think you're a real Iron Maiden fan. Like, if you don't like the band where they are now at their apex of their career, haven't played for 40 years, and you don't like them playing guitar solos and writing big, immense 13, 18, 20-minute songs.
Like, what are you doing?
Then you don't like Iron Maiden, because that's who they are. Like, if you're ranking this album number 16 over No Prayer for the Dying, Fear of the Dark, Virtual 11, whatever, I mean, I just feel like that you don't understand metal or you don't understand Maiden, because, like, this, how do you not love this? Like, this is euphoric to me, like, personally.
Yeah, the only thing I think of is they didn't really listen to the album. They're just throwing it out there at the beginning because they didn't listen to it, so they're just putting it last.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know. My brother... Love you to death, man, if you're listening. I told him to listen to this album. He listened, like Matt just said, he listened to maybe like 2 or 3 songs and just never listened to it. He's like, oh, I like Final Frontier better. It's like, you didn't even listen to the album, dude. How can you, like, sit there and say that it's better if you haven't even listened to it? It's like, Final Frontier, like, I hate to say this about Maiden, but it pales in comparison to this album.
Yeah, we keep saying over and over again how this album's better than Final Frontier. It's true.
But, I mean, what about lyrics, man? I mean, discussing it. You have a favorite lyric in here that's, like, your favorite, absolutely favorite? I mean, the whole song is fucking amazing.
I mean, like, first off, I love the chorus. Falling of ages, Forest of Kings, the Lost Book of Souls, Destruction Begins. I mean, prophecy of sky gods, the sun and moon, passing of always will come soon true.
Amazing.
This album is full of great, great lyrics. I love the opening. Sacrifices buried with kings, accompany them on their journey with no end, to an afterlife that's rich with fruit of all the gods. I love that line. Fruit of all the gods. And the face of demons of their underworld.
I mean,
it's just immense. The song's immense.
The rulers of planets and stars, the power of the kings, of traitors in the wars, planetary cycles on the phases of the moon.
I love that line too.
A kingdom they will learn.
I love that line too. The planetary cycles and the phases of the moon. I mean, Bruce is just killing it.
And one line that I love too, and I always think of Conan the Barbarian when I hear this. It's like 2-headed reptiles in the underworld. I always think of like Thulsa Doom, like James Earl Jones' character with the snake.
Yeah.
Like, I always picture that for some reason. It kicks ass to have that imagery. Like, that is so kick-ass. If you can think of the movie Conan the Barbarian, that is fucking unbelievable, man. Like, seriously. And another thing I love about it, too, is where he says, alien invasion brings nothing but death, mass exodus and plant life destroyed. Another one of Steve's thematic things where he talks about, like, immigrants coming and killing people. It's Run of the Hills, like the Cowboys and Indians thing, like, where people came and...
It's a clash
killed
in
the
culture,
Indians.
yeah.
Clash of cultures, like, it's fucking unbelievable. Like, it's sickening. And then to close it, Bruce is like, the Book of Souls, and just holds it. It's like... And another thing we failed to mention, and I just fucking thought of it now after hearing that, Bruce had fucking cancer in his fucking mouth. He's a singer, and on his tongue and in his throat, and he's
little
belting
tumors
this
either.
shit.
They weren't just little
Like
tumors.
golf
They were-
ball size
they were
fucking
huge.
tumors.
He thought he had a sore throat or something, or
He thought he had laryngitis like he
Yeah.
had on Death on the Road, and it was like fucking tumors. Like he had throat cancer. He's a singer. Like, how in the fuck? And people were gonna say there and say that this is the worst album. Like, I don't know, man. Like, for me, that makes the album that much more, like, special. Because he had cancer, and he's fucking kicking ass with this. And they're still out there kicking ass.
Yeah.
Like, when we saw them live, it was one of the best performances I've ever seen them do. And, like, the guy had cancer. It's like... And he sounds better before he had cancer.
I mean, yeah, like, I remember Steve saying in an interview that he likes the way Bruce sounds now, especially live, more than he's ever liked him. Like, I agree. Like, we just saw him. He's almost 60 years old. When we saw him, he was almost 60. Yeah. I mean, killed it. Better than 20-year-olds. It's amazing.
And Matt and I have talked about this before. Like, Bruce Dickinson must be blessed by the gods. He must be like a fucking ancient Mayan god or something.
You can count on one hand the number of singers right now that are alive right now that could, like, pull off that kind of performance.
And I don't want to compare Bruce to Ronnie James Dio, but Bruce Dickinson loved Ronnie James Dio. It was probably one of his favorite singers. Somebody he tried to emulate. And Ronnie James Dio died of cancer. And for Bruce to survive and carry on and say, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do this until I'm dead. Like, that is something to say about the man as an individual. I mean, he's just godlike. Godlike.
Kind of wrap this up for CD1 here. End of CD1. I mean, what an amazing first CD. Perfect.
First disc just fucking incinerates. Besides, maybe Speed of Light is the weakest song, but everything else is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Everything else is perfect.
I couldn't fault anything on that first CD.
And then as we move into the second CD, this second CD, like Matt just said earlier, where If Eternity Should Fail is kind of a little different, a little bit of a departure from that, like, really short kind of rocker at the beginning. This is kind of like back to that for the second CD, Death or Glory. You have that short kind of little rocker going on.
Yeah, throwback to like a modern day Aces High.
Absolutely. I loved it, man. There was a time where I listened to the song every day on the way to work. I mean, I was just, like, infatuated with it. Another amazing combination of writing by Mr. Adrian Smith and Mr. Bruce, polymath, godlike Mayan ancestor, whoever you're descended from the heavens, Dickinson, you know? It's like, monumental, man, again. And there's people who Matt and I know personally who don't really care for the song too much. You know, and this is like, really? How do you not like it? It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you'd like from, like, a short Iron Maiden rocker. I love that, like, first opening line. I see the enemy, I know he can't see me. Like, just sets the mood for the song. It's just that Bruce loves airplanes. He loves the combat. And this is everything that he loves in a song.
Absolutely. I mean, this is supposed to be about World War I, like the Red Baron stuff, like triplanes. Like, this is what it's about. Like, my favorite line in the song, and because I learned to play the song on guitar, like the verses and stuff, and I've done videos. If you guys check out my Instagram, it's Somewhere in Time 86. Check it out. Obviously, that's a Maiden reference. Look it up, and I do a cover of the song, and it's on there. And my favorite line of the entire song is, I watch you spiral down, dead before you hit the ground. Bullet got you in the back, deflection shooting beam attack. I shoot the gunner first. I kill to quench my thirst. I hunt the weakest prey. Live to fly another day. I fucking love that. Again, just like Book of Souls, harkens back to Aces High. Harkens back to War Eagles Dare. Harkens back to, I don't want to say Tailgunner, because Tailgunner sucked, but, like, good flying songs. You know?
Yeah.
Like, the good shit. Like Matt said, Aces High, modern day Aces High. Modern day Aces High. Like, that's pretty much what it is. And we talked about the comparison to Powerslave. Fucking there it is again. There's a song like Round the Ancient Mariner. There's a song like Aces High. I mean, what the big four on Powerslave are Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Powerslave, and Round the Ancient Mariner. You have Death or Glory. You have Red and the Black. It's it's fucking ridiculous, dude. Like, I don't even know what else to say about it. Like, it's incredible.
I even like that. Like the pre-chorus line's great. Turn like the devil, shoot straight from the sun, climb like a monkey, at a foul where I belong. I mean, that climb like a monkey line is like, first time I heard it, I was like, what? Yeah, it sounds kind of silly, but like the more I listen to it, man, I love it. I love the climb like a monkey.
Yeah, dude, when you think about like the Red Baron and some of those air fights, when they're climbing like with the joystick and they're like fucking climbing like up the like air. Matt and I saw the movie Dunkirk in theaters when it came out, and Tom Hardy's character is an airplane pilot. I picture that, like just that fucking like scene where he's just like flying. It's ridiculous.
It almost reminds you of like somebody giving advice to a combat pilot at World War One. It was like, what you want to do is you want to turn like the devil, you want to shoot straight from the sun, and then you climb like a monkey, out of hell where I belong. I mean, like it's great. It's great lines.
And the way they do that live too, we'll talk about later. The crowd thing with the monkey stuff is fucking hilarious.
I 100% did it.
It's absolutely fantastic. Again, really throw back to Powerslave here. We got the two big guys here from Iron Maiden. The legendary '80s guitar players. Dave Murray plays the first solo, and Mr. Adrian Smith on the second solo. Iconic. I mean, they're great. They're great solos. Just fantastic solos. I mean,
absolutely nothing else I can really add.
Then, after Death or Glory, we move into Shadows of the Valley.
Yeah, I'll admit, like the first, for a long time, I didn't like this song. I tell you, like one of the reasons why is the beginning intro kind of reminded me of Wasted Years, and it's hard to get like past that in a way. But once I did, this song is like a great mid-level length song. I mean, it's one of those that makes the album, stand out from your average, song that Iron Maiden's put out recently. This is like above average good song. I mean, I love it.
Dude, I got nothing. I mean, like, I'm with you 100%. It's a Yan song. I remember Matt and I joked because I know I'm an Adrian fan, Matt's a Davey fan. Those are our two favorite guitarists in the band. We're like, fucking Yannick's ripping off Adrian. What the hell is this bullshit? Wasted Years.
Yeah.
But then if you think about it and how we were just talking about the whole album and how it harkens back to the 80s, fucking awesome. It's like Wasted Years. Like, Wasted Years kicks ass. Why wouldn't you want a song that's like Wasted Years?
It could have been like a tribute from Janik to Adrian. Yeah.
And you know what? You mentioned that, man, and I wanted to say that, and you just reminded me. I think Yannick and Adrian never really played together too much, And when this album came out, right before it came out, have you noticed like the camaraderie, like when we saw them, how much closer they are now? Like when they play, so much closer together,
if you compare to like if you watch them in Rock and Rio,
they're like not even
near
each other.
Yeah, and you go watch the live chapter. I mean, it is like night and day. The whole band's like close now.
Exactly. Like, I think there was a time there where Adrian or Yannick probably...
I don't know if they didn't like each other, they probably just didn't know each other.
Exactly. And I watched a couple interviews, like, right after the live chapter came out, where Adrian was like, I like to see what Yan plays. He's so interesting. And then on the other sentiment, Yan was like, I love to see what Adrian plays. He's such a creative, he just pick notes out of the air and just plays. And it's like, it's awesome. And maybe it was a tribute.
Yeah, they have like very different styles, but in their own way, they're both great guitarists.
And when you said that, man, like maybe that riff at the beginning was like a tribute to Adrian. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe he's grateful for that. Maybe he's like, you know what, man, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What about like
some of the lyrics in here, like listen closely to the Raven's call.
Yeah, I love that part.
Praying hard for the world not to end. Try as I might to make sense of it all. Will it be for the penance of men? I mean, like we keep repeating ourselves. These lyrics are like. When we listen, if you go back and listen to the Final Frontier podcast, we aren't like sitting there picking out great lyrics out of Mother of Mercy or some of those songs. In this, it's like every song has great lyrics.
That just goes to show you how much better this album is. I mean, I hate to say that about any Iron Maiden album, but I think that, like I said earlier, if you're ranking this number 16 and you don't think this album is better than Final Frontier or even Dance of Death, like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I can understand how you could say, like, it's not as good as Brave New World or Matter of Life and Death. I mean, I can see that. I can see that 100%. But if you're going to sit there and say that this is better than Dance of Death or especially Final Frontier, I don't know what you're doing. I mean, like, I'm not saying those albums are horrible, but...
Maybe you just haven't listened to this.
You haven't given this a chance. I mean, like, this is a monumental album.
I remember Nico in an interview... He wanted to play this album like start to finish like they did with Matter of Life and Death. Mm-hmm. He liked this album that much.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's a really good idea, but when we get to the next couple songs...
This album isn't perfect. We'll say that. Like, we really, really like this album. To this point, this album has been, like,
Pretty much.
hard. It's hard. You're, like, stretching to find stuff negative to say about it. The Speed of Light's probably about the only thing we can say negative word about to this point. But before we get to that, I mean, Shadows of the Valley, I mean, this song is, like, a journey through different melodic ideas. And to me, like, Janik has written a couple really, really great epics. But this is like a mid-range song, and it kind of shows you how far Janik's come as a songwriter.
Absolutely.
And it's like it's a bit of a privilege to like witness it, you know. Like if you go back and listen to some of the stuff he wrote off of, you know, Fear of the Dark or the X Factor or whatever. I mean, look how far he's come. I mean, it's great to watch somebody improve that much. And now he's on the verge of being like a master songwriter.
And like you said, I think let me harken back to Red and the Black. The band now, I think, in order for them to carry on and like achieve that level of writing and expectation that we all expect from Maiden, you have to have all 6 people. I mean, there's no way that, well, maybe not writing. I mean, Nico doesn't write, so you need him for live stuff, and you need him in the studio, and you need him in the band for people to write around him. But in terms of lyrical writing and musicianship, you need Yannick, you need Adrian, and I mean you need Davey too to throw those solos out there to tie stuff together.
Especially this album's 92 minutes long.
Yeah, exactly.
You need everybody.
Exactly, and you need them all. And like Matt said, though, that improvement with Yannick, I mean, since the reunion, he's been killing it. I mean, he's been killing it. Just he has at least 1 or 2 or 3 songs on an album.
I think we mentioned this before. Back when me and Joe first started listening to Iron Maiden, we were like, why is Janik even in the band? You know, like, we knew the classic lineup. Why don't they just go back to the classic lineup, get Janik out of there? And then A Matter of Life and Death came out, and it kind of shut us up because
the Legacy
was on there. And then, you know, recently, Talisman could be your favorite song off of Final Frontier, and you wouldn't have any issues saying that. And then you come to this album, and it's Book of Souls, and then, you know, Shadows of the Valley, and, you know, somebody out there, a modern Maiden fan, you know, Janik might be their favorite songwriter, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean,
absolutely understandable now. Since Brave New World on, Yan, you were the man. Dance of Death.
Ghost of the Navigator.
Ghost of the Navigator. Fucking, what else did he write from Brave New World? I mean, Dream of Mirrors?
Yeah.
Fucking come on. Like, how the hell is that not amazing?
Me and Joe love Iron Maiden and their epics and their progressive ideas. Janik is like a living embodiment of writing epic progressive songs.
He is like Adrian. Like
his songs are different than Adrian's, but they are in the same vein of what Iron Maiden is nowadays.
Prog.
Yeah.
Like, and if you think about that, Adrian brings that technical progressive, like really upbeat middle range, Aces high E, passion deli, heaviness, and that guitar tone that cuts through everything. And Yan brings that like acoustic, progressive, folky, atmospheric dimension. Like they're completely different, but that's Maiden. And Davey brings that. He doesn't have the songwriting ability of those 2 guys, but he brings that just like Matt. We talked about like how Davey's solos tie songs together, and they do. Like, he brings the other songs on the album.
He just polishes them off. Like, you listen to the song, you're like, oh man, this song's awesome. Then Dave just comes in with this like face melting solo, and it's just like,
well,
yep, there it is.
Hard to argue. Listen to Phantom of the Opera. You know, where Davey was pretty much the only guitar player in the band. You know, Dennis Stratton was awesome, but he was good for that album. But Davey is like the shining force on that album. I mean, listen to that album. Listen to the original Iron Maiden album again, and then go back and listen to Book of Souls. Like, seriously. And you understand, I mean, Matt and I are guilty of it. Like, you know, he doesn't write good stuff, but you listen to his musicianship, it hasn't changed.
And then another line I really love about this is, as the raven again passes by, I can hear all the wake fathers cry. The firstborn of all men will die, as their lives will be taken from them. I mean, the lyrics, every song, and then this whole album has like amazing, amazing lyrics.
Yeah, they're absolutely incredible, man. I don't even know what to say. I mean, and then Shadows of the Valley, the solo in the song. I think how many solos are in this? I'm not even sure. I know that Yannick has a solo on it though.
Yeah,
and it's probably the best one in the song. And then we after Shadow to the Valley, we got a kind of a little bit of
a lull in the album.
Yeah, a little lull here. We got a song by I hate to say it, Mr. Adrian Smith and Steve Harris, "Tears of a Clown," which was written by the late Robin Williams. They thought he was hilarious, and hats off to Robin Williams. Matt and I grew up with Robin Williams. A lot of memories with his
this
movies
was
and stuff.
Outfire. We watched a bunch. Jumanji,
Patch Adams, Hook. I mean, just great stuff. He was hilarious.
He's part of our childhood.
He's hilarious, and that's why Matt and I have a sense of humor about things. To a certain extent, but this is like out of left field for us. This is kind of like, for me personally, it's like a Weekend Warrior, Football Hooligans like kind of song. It doesn't belong anywhere near Iron Maiden. I don't know, man.
I understand like Steve trying to push the boundaries of what Iron Maiden is, and went out on a limb here and wrote "Tears of the Clown." And honestly, I don't like this song. It doesn't work for me. I wish that it wasn't on the album personally. Like Speed of Light, I don't like, but I don't mind it being on the album. This song, I wish it was just completely cut from the album.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I think if I had to pick, which we'll talk about later, there's 3 songs on this album that I think just don't belong, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
And the song after this is the one that I really don't think belongs on here. But yeah, you have all this awesome stuff about life and death and Mayan culture and civilization and what it means for the end of the world and the end of humanity and how the world's going to come to an end. Pretty much conveyed in every single song up to this point. And then you get "Tears of a Clown," which you could argue, yeah, Robin Williams' life came to an end, and that's part of life, and his life's over. Which, yeah, that's arguable. But
yeah,
the way it sounds musically doesn't. I don't think it gives Robin Williams justice. I don't think it personally fits the concept, the theme, in
the sound, anything. Yeah,
all the great stuff we just talked about. How the instrumentation's amazing, the guitars are playing together. It's fantastic. It's none of that.
This to me is not like really inspired sounding. It's it's borderline like just annoying. Like I skip it a lot. And it's like sometimes like we say songs we skip, but sometimes I don't skip them. I'll listen through. Mm-hmm. I almost always skip this song. Like I just don't want to listen to it.
The one part that is catchy is "Tomorrow Comes, Tomorrow Goes." I mean that one part is. Oh,
it is catchy in a way, but I don't know if it's like good catchy.
Yeah,
it might just be bad catchy.
Then again, like if you guys are out there saying, "Oh, this is a good song, we love it," we are giving our review in the scope of Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
As a collective, Iron Maiden as a whole, and in terms of the entire Iron Maiden catalog, this is just one of those songs that doesn't fit the band.
We're talking. This is Iron Maiden podcast. We're talking about it through the prism of Iron Maiden. This song is not Iron Maiden at all. 0% of this album or this song is Iron Maiden. It shouldn't be on this album.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend too much time on "Tears of a Clown," but let's go into the next song because it has a similar sentiment.
Yeah, I mean we talked this album up like a lot, and you could see how much me and Joe like really love this album. And
Man of Sorrows, wow.
To me, this is what makes this album like not perfect.
Wow, Man of Sorrows.
Joe,
wow.
what's the most redeeming thing you can say about this song? Something redeeming. There's really not.
What? The only thing I can say that's redeeming about it is Bruce's solo version of "Man of Sorrows." Honestly,
yeah,
that is the only thing. I'm not even trying to be an asshole here because this song is bad. This is one of the worst songs they've ever written in their entire catalog. I think this song is like
it's top 5-10 worst.
Yeah, this song is worse than The Angel and the Gambler. I'll say it now. Like it's that bad. It belongs on like No Prayer for the Dying. It's not even worthy of that.
The only part of this whole song I actually like kind of like is when they start the after the intro, they start the verse and the guitars are kind of like heavy. It's like bang, dun, dun, dun. That's the only part of the whole song I like. I don't like anything else about this song.
And we just talked about how the lyrics were amazing. Like "Tears of a Clown" might not be like musically catchy or like emotional.
Yeah, the lyrics aren't bad.
The lyrics are good. They're okay. The one line in this song that Matt and I always talk about that really just I have to say
it sums the song up.
It pisses me off to no extent that this is even written by these masterful songwriters. Now we need to know the truth now. What the fuck is that?
I remember I was listening to this song after the album came out, and I like texted you that. I was like, Now we need to know the truth now? Am I hearing this right? I mean,
God.
is that an accident? Did they screw up?
Horrible. Steve. Okay, Steve wrote this.
He wrote the lyrics, yeah.
Steve.
Yeah.
Really, Steve, really? If you're listening, Steve, I love you, man. You are the reason Iron Maiden, lives and breathes. He's
a musical genius.
Steve, you changed my life, honestly. But this song, sir, with all the respect I have for you, just please never play this song live. Never. Just when I listen to the song, it's a skip every time. I listened to it maybe 2 or 3 times in my lifetime.
I tried to give it another chance because honestly, Shadows of the Valley was a song that I did not like for 6 months after this album came out. I didn't really care for Shadows of the Valley, and one day it clicked with me, and I was like, "This song is awesome." After that, and I gave this song another chance, and I was like, "You know what? Maybe Shadows of the Valley, it's gonna be. I'm gonna listen to it and think it's okay. It's not bad, just okay." And no, it's bad. It's bad.
It's horrible.
Through and through bad.
It is on par with No Prayer. It might actually be worse than No Prayer for the Dying stuff. Honestly.
It's even Davey Solo isn't very. It's bad.
Inspired. Yeah, it's bad.
They should have not have put this song. If one song I could take one song off this album, it's this one.
Definitely, this is the worst song on the album.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst songs they've ever written. It is much like Speed of Light was to put a single together. I think this was just a song so Davey could have a writing credit. Honestly. This is just a song so Davey could have a writing credit.
Davey's not the greatest songwriter in the world, we'll admit that. But this is the guy who had a part in writing, Reincarnation of Benjamin Britten.
Yeah.
It's the guy who, on the last album, even wrote, The Man Who Would Be King, which is a solid song. He wrote part in Brave New World, Rainmaker. These aren't bad songs. And this is, terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really
It's a 0 out of 10.
Yeah, it's not even. Yeah, it's bad. It's
not even just bad for Iron Maiden. It's bad.
It's just bad.
Just bad.
Even just a bad song in general. Yeah. Much like we talked about how Tears of a Clown was bad for Iron Maiden. This is
I always premise that saying through the prism of Iron Maiden, Tears of the Clown's a bad song.
This is just a bad song.
There's no prism here. It's just bad.
It's horrible. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
They just skip it.
And it goes back to that formula thing I said, guys. If you listen to previous podcasts, I should have 10 songs on the album. There's 11 songs on this. Please just take Sorry off the album.
Yeah.
You'd have 10 songs. This album would be damn near untouchable.
It would have been modern day Powerslave because there wouldn't have been a bad song on the album.
Absolutely. Thank you, Man of Sorrows. Thank you.
Ruined it.
Thanks.
Ruined it.
And it just goes to show you that you didn't need 2 discs either. I know you guys are trying to make a double album out there and trying to be creative and influential and change it up a little bit, but when you take the song off and you have 1 CD and you're good, Last song on the album, number 11. Again, written solely by Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah.
And
his second solo writing credit of the album.
Yeah, 2 epics really, honestly. The bookends of the album. The opener on disc 1, If Eternity Should Fail from Bruce, and the closer, Empire of the Clouds, again from Bruce. This is the longest Iron Maiden song ever written, ever recorded.
Not even close. It's by far
it's
the longest.
5 minutes longer than the second longest song. It's 18 minutes and 1 second, I believe, or something like that. So you're, yeah. And what do you have to say about Empire of the Clouds? I mean, let's just, should we make another podcast for this?
Yeah.
Should we just do another podcast for this song?
Part 2, Empire of the Clouds.
Wow.
I guess Bruce spent most of the whole time recording writing this song. He had a piano in a glass room, and he put together this 18-minute masterpiece of a song. It had everything. I mean, how many Iron Maiden songs had a piano in it?
None.
And this song features the piano. The piano is the main instrument in this song.
It's the centerpiece, yeah.
And where do you begin?
When I first heard this, I thought it's kind of corny. It's a little different. I was reading a review somewhere where they talked about Dance of Death and how some of the stuff on there was Stonehenge-y. And it was it's supposed to be Stonehenge.
Spinal Tappy,
Spinal Tappy. And it's meant to be that way, Dance of Death is. But then you think about it, and it's actually a really beautiful song, Dance of Death. And this kind of has that same vibe, but on a different level. I mean, this is really epic shit here. I mean, it's hard to say.
In every sense of the word, yeah.
Yeah, in every sense of the word. And another thing, I'm going to go back to Bruce's cancer struggle and all this stuff. I mean, just to have this on here and knowing that about him, and the fact that he potentially could have died, and this could have been the last thing he ever wrote in his life. I mean, it's just fucking. It's beautiful, man. It's like I don't even know what to say about it. It's everything that he wanted. It's like his masterpiece. It's his rhyme.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
It's just.
It might be the greatest song that he's ever put together personally, like from a song composition standpoint. In his whole career, not just in Iron Maiden, but in his whole career.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's about the R101 airship that crashed in France, and he tells the whole story about it here. I mean, like, I don't even have to give you the history of the airship because he told you about it. You know, like, the lyrics in this song, you know, to ride a storm to an empire in the clouds, to ride the storm they climbed aboard their silver ghost, to ride the storm to a kingdom that will come, to ride the storm, the damn the rest oblivion. I mean, the images in this song, the piano, the way it's composed, I think there's an oboe in it. I mean, like,
there's a bunch of like orchestration that added that they sent out. You know, it's just.
They said it was a nightmare for the band to put together, like the other guys in the band, to be part of. And Steve said, no, we're doing this song. Yeah. He came to Bruce, and maybe even Bruce was like, you know what, it's fine if we don't do this song. I'll put it on an album later. I'll store it away. And Steve's like, no, we need to put this song. This is that good. And it's credit to Steve. Steve had just earlier in this album wrote the Red and Black, which became the longest song Iron Maiden's ever wrote. He'd Ride the Ancient Mariner, and he was telling Bruce, like, you need to put this song together. There's no ego there. And Iron Maiden didn't need this song in this album. They could have just kept a one CD album, ran with what they had, closed the album out with Book of Souls. Yep. It would have been fine. And Steve's like, no, like, we need to record this.
Perfect, man. Like you said, hats off to Steve. And we talked about before when, Brave New World came around and the reunion came around and Steve started letting go of some of that control. And he really lets go of it, man. Right here. I mean, you see it.
He let Bruce write an 18-minute song on one of their albums.
And he let Bruce have the opener and the closer. Normally that's him. Ace is High and Ride the Ancient Mariner. That's Steve.
Or they could have closed the album out with, the Red and the Black, and it would have been fine. And
yeah.
A testament to Steve, testament to Bruce, testament to the rest of the band for sticking through this song and putting it together. I'm sure it was a compositional nightmare to put this all together in the studio, and they put it together flawlessly.
What else can we say about this song, man? I mean, every lyric in here is amazing. Royalty and dignitaries and perhaps.
When I listen to this song, I sing along every lyric.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's that fucking good.
In the gathering gloom, a storm rising from the west. The coxswain stared into the west. We must go now. We must take our chance with fate. We must go now for the politicians. He can't be late.
Misses in the trees, stone sweats with the dew, the morning sunrise, red before the blue.
The images,
British flag.
Like, I can just...
Amazing.
I just picture, like, standing in the dawn and just all those colors and everything.
Yeah.
The song just... It's perfect to capture that atmosphere.
When I hear that, like, I see the British flag, like, flying.
Yeah.
Like, the red on the flag before the blue. Like, it's just fucking...
The Union Jack, yeah.
It's amazing, dude. And it goes back to, again, you think of the British, the band, everything that they've ever done in their life, it's like this nostalgic trip through Iron Maiden, like this song. And you would think it'd be a Steve song, and it's not. It's Bruce. And it's like, holy fuck, Bruce is, like, on fire with this stuff. Don't discount, and it goes back to what we said when Adrian came back in the band, history writing credit. When Bruce left the band too, they weren't that great.
Yeah.
I mean, the caliber that these guys are as a six-piece band nowadays, and the reason I say again, this is the third time I've mentioned it, if you don't like this album, then you don't like Iron Maiden, because this is Bruce, this is Adrian, this is Davey, this is Ian, this is Steve, this is Nick, this is everybody. I mean, this is another. Besides a couple duds on here, the rest of this album makes up for it. Like, it makes up for all the shitty stuff on here, the weak stuff on here. In particular, this song, Red and the Black, and every other song that we mentioned that was great, It's just... You can't hate this album. You can't.
It's such a, like, perfect closer for this album, and Mean Joe... When we first got the track listing for this, and we saw this song was like 18 minutes long, we were like, we were stoked to go listen to this, because me and Joe love epic Iron Maiden.
Exactly.
And this is it to like its full extent.
What about are we gonna save the Empire of the Clouds T-shirt for the live chapter? We'll talk about it now since they didn't play that live. So
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, the Empire of Clouds T-shirt's like ridiculous.
you were like, dude, you saw that guy wearing it. You were like, holy shit.
I mean, this song is so like epic and long. We could talk about this song for like ever and just all the lyrics, the history, and everything. But I think not only does this song have a climax for the song, but it is the climax of the album, where he says, here lies your dreams as they stand in the sun on the ground where they built the engines they run to the moon and the stars. Now what have we done? Oh, the dreamers may die, but the dreams live on.
Oh, the dreams live on.
I mean, that just whole build up of that whole line, and then he just says, oh, the dreamers may die, but the dreams live on. It's just
amazing.
I mean, I get chills thinking about it. It's a great, great line. It's one of my favorite moments in Iron Maiden. That climax of this song. It's an 18-minute song. There's like 16 minutes of the song that build up to that moment. The whole thing builds up to that climax.
Exactly. And the way it closes, too, like kind of what we talked about Red and Black, it's very similar. Like it builds, and then it just like brings it back down. Brings it back down to earth. Like brings it back down to earth.
Now a shadow on a hill.
Amazing.
The angel of the east. The empire of the clouds. May rest in peace. And the country churchyard laid head in the mass. 1,840 souls
came to die in France. And it's dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 and it just ends. It's like
perfect.
What the fuck was that?
It took me like I listened to the song like 5 times before I could just like wrap my head around it. Like it was just like what in the world, and like what a way to end this album. And it kind of like sums everything up and represents everything as it being this album is just epic. In every sense of the word. Exactly. That's what that song is, epic.
Exactly. And
it's not an album, and this is not a song you can listen to one time and just be like, oh, that was really cool. You got everything. I've been listening to this album, almost over 3 years, and I still
love it.
Yeah.
It's new stuff every time.
Yeah.
Coming back from that Mexico trip and that cruise, which was just recently for me, I listened to this album twice. Once on the way down and once on the way back on the airplane. And it took almost the entire time because the flight was only like a little over 2 hours, so 92 minutes. You listen to the album. And I did listen to Man of Sorrows and songs I really didn't care for because, I knew we were going to get to this podcast eventually. And
yeah.
But
maybe you liked it that time. Nope.
I didn't like it. And it's recent. But this song, I mean, it's beautiful, man. I mean, I got nothing else to say about the song. Other than that, I mean, one word to sum it up is beautiful, and if you're looking for another word, perfect. I mean, same thing with Red and Black. Those two songs are just some of the best songs Iron Maiden.
They're my two. I think they're my two favorites, and then sometimes Book of Souls the song really connects to me, and that becomes like my second favorite. Mm-hmm. Besides, Red and Black's just always been my favorite song of this album. From the second time I listened to this album, probably I was just like those guitars in Red and Black, the feeling, the vibe. It was just great. And then we got a couple other, just gems in Book of Souls and Empire of the Clouds. And then sprinkled through this whole album, or not really sprinkled, just filled. Filled through this whole album is just great songs that are just, middle length songs that are just, they just knock it out of the park with every single one of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that brings us to listenability.
I mean, it's a little hard to gauge because we just had first CD, 100% listenable. Oh, amazing. I mean, sometimes you can say what you want about Speed of Light, but it's close to the beginning of the album. You're kind of expecting a rocker like that. Mm-hmm. I don't have a big problem with it. And then you start the second CD off with
Death of Glory.
Death of Glory and Shadows of the Valley, 100% listenable.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get 2 duds in a row, which you're going to skip a lot. And especially as Man of Sorrows, you're skipping every time. Mm-hmm. And then you get Empire of Clouds, which is awesome. So, if I had to grade the listenability out of 10, I'd give it like an 8.
That's where I'm sitting, probably. Yeah, about an 8, just because of those 2 duds.
Oh my god, if you got rid of Man of Sorrows and
Tears of a Clown.
10.
Absolutely.
It's a 10.
That's what I'm saying.
But you have to grade it. It's part of the album. You have to grade it.
Exactly. Another thing about listenability, produced by Caveman Kevin Shirley. Thanks, Kev. Amazing.
He's another guy who's like, you compare his production from Brave New World on, he's improved just like the rest of the band
Absolutely.
in every way.
Absolutely.
Production is amazing.
Yep. And another thing about this album is it's recorded at Yamatel Studios in Paris, France, the same studio they used to record Brave New World. So
I can hear some similarities definitely in the sound.
there's a tidbit there.
It's just production's just great.
It's fantastic.
I give it 9.5, 10. I mean, right up there. I can't think of much.
Yeah, I'm giving the production, man, a 10. I mean, it's the sound quality on all that stuff that we talked about in the epicness and Empire of the Clouds, the quality.
The way the drums sound amazing in
Ridiculous.
this. The guitars in the red and the black sound incredible. I think it's best guitars have ever sounded in Iron Maiden in the red and the black.
Absolutely.
The way Empire of the Clouds is produced, I mean, flawless. Piano, oboe, guitars,
Disgusting.
whatever the violins, whatever else they put in that song, amazing.
Trumpets,
yeah,
whatever it is, amazing.
Yeah, trumpets in that song. Yeah,
it's disgusting. So thank you, Kevin, and co-producer Mr. Steve Harris. Steve,
another guy improved just as long as
hats off
everybody
to
else. Yeah, it's all about just improving.
progress, like we talked about. We love Progressive Maiden, and that's what they are now as a band. That's why I say again, the fourth time, if you don't like the Book of Souls, then you don't like Maiden, because they're a progressive metal band now. So get used to it. I mean, that's the way it is. You don't write two songs that are the longest ever on your longest album, your latest album, if you're not progressive. You don't write an 18-minute song and a song that replaces the former longest song if you're not a progressive metal band. So just wrap your head around that. Think about that. What about the artwork, man?
We discussed this the other day about the artwork, and when we saw the album art before we got like physical CD copy, right? And we're looking at this album artwork, and we're like, I mean, it's good. It's not the worst album Iron Maiden's ever put together, but it's a little disappointing because there wasn't much to the album cover. It was just Eddie has that like he's like smirking a little bit, and he has that white face paint, and
Yeah, he looks like a Mayan.
yeah.
Yeah, like
I
a
mean,
Mayan.
it's cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's cool, but considering like we just came from the Final Frontier cover, which had so much going on, the Matter Light and Death cover had so much going on. It was a little disappointing, like my first impression. And then I was like asking Joe about it the other day, and I was like, "You remember how we were disappointed when that album came out?" And I'm like, "They did that on purpose. They had a simplistic cover on purpose because the real gems were inside the album because it is literally
Absolutely.
a book."
Yeah, it's a book. Matt and I talked about that years ago too when it first came out. You know, they want you to buy the album. They want you to look inside, and when you look inside, you're like immensely rewarded.
Like, how many of those, copies of pictures inside could have been an Iron Maiden cover and would have been amazing?
Yeah, I mean, there's like 4 or 5 pictures on the inside that are just disgusting. My favorite of the internal cover is Eddie as a Mayan god behind like this jungle theme. And there's 2 totems. One of them has the faces of 3 of the band members on one side, and the other totem has 3 of the faces of the band members on the other side, and their eyes are all lit up red. And it's like in this... It's almost like the sun's going down and Mayan civilization's dying. It's like the whole theme of like the sun and the moon, like the Book of Souls. Like it's perfect.
Like,
It
if
is
that would have been the
amazing.
cover, I mean...
One of the best of all time.
Yeah.
On par with Somewhere in Time and Powerslave as one of the greatest covers of all time. Absolutely.
I mean, another one is, we're talking about Eddie holding the heart, and he has a knife in one hand.
Amazing.
And he has like a Mayan shaman behind him with a Book of Souls. I mean, that would have been incredible artwork for the cover.
Amazing.
And I'm not bashing the cover. I'm saying they did that on purpose. They had a simplistic cover because that was like that was like a copy of a book. Or
Exactly.
like the cover of a book. They want you to look inside.
I was just going to say that, and I was just going to say those almost exact words. Almost exactly. I was going to say it's much like the album, and it's about Iron Maiden in general. They want you to look within. Not only of their artwork, but within yourself and within the band.
Yeah.
Like, it's perfect. It is perfect.
I mean, like another jewel about this CD too is the actual CD and the cover art that's on the CD is ridiculous.
It's a Mayan calendar.
Ridiculous.
It's a Mayan calendar. It's fucking ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
It's a Mayan calendar with Mayan Eddie's head on it. Like, it's fucking insane.
I mean, we always talk about Iron Maiden and the things that make up the band, and the art is like as integral a part to the band as anything.
Absolutely.
And this album, and I was like, I mean, like again, me and Joe were talking about it a little bit ago, about if we're ranking art in Iron Maiden, and we're ranking the actual physical CD copy, you get all the art in it, the single covers, all that kind of stuff. This album is the best art Iron Maiden's ever put out.
Absolutely.
Period.
Absolutely. I mean, it's disgusting. And it's another thing, because I just came back from Mexico and did that trip. I was thinking about the actual album cover without looking inside. And I was wondering why they made it black. And right now in my hand I'm holding, and I got this in Mexico, I have a piece of obsidian that's black with Mayan runes in it that spell my name. And the album cover is black, like obsidian, which was like one of the rarest and purest things that the Mayans treasured. They treasured that, like obsidian and that stone. They made weapons out of it. They used it for medicinal purposes. It was for healing. And the fact that the cover is black, like the color of obsidian, the stone, I didn't realize that until, seriously, like today. And it's just, and then you think about that and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's fucking perfect.
Iron Maiden doesn't do stuff by accident. They don't do stuff like that. They know the meaning of things. I mean, what did you give the single covers? The Speed of Light single cover is...
It's kind of lame.
Yeah. I mean, it's the album cover, but it's like a little darker and more silver colored. I don't know even how to describe it.
I think I like the video promotion cover for that better, with like the Eddie as an arcade person.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was really cool. I think that was pretty cool. It was kind of like Final Frontier cartoony, comic-y.
There's not much to add on that one, but the Empire of the Clouds cover, which is sweet that they put that out as a single, just
for fun.
Yeah,
here you
funsies. Here's an 18-minute single, because we're Iron Maiden.
If I had one word to describe Empire of the Clouds single cover, it would be, I'm feeling kind of like, I don't know, spunky, I guess, right now, because I had a little bit of wine, delicious. Yeah. I mean, it's fucking tasty as shit. Like, it's a throwback to, remember when we talked about Be Quick or Be Dead, and how it was like a newspaper clipping and it looked like shit almost?
Yeah.
This is like a newspaper clipping too, but it's like fucking unbelievable. Yeah. Like, it's ridiculous, dude.
It's a recreation of the Daily Mirror cover from October 6, 1930, of the R101 crash. And it's got like a hole ripped in it, and there's Eddie with his hand out underneath the flaming airship R101. Yeah. And it's the Book of Souls, Eddie. I mean, perfect. It's a great cover.
Not only that, and another lyric from the song that we didn't mention was when he talks about the Reaper standing beside you. And all those classic Iron Maiden covers with the Grim Reaper in the background. Yeah. Guess what fucking cover they put it on? The fucking Empire of the Clouds single with the Grim Reaper in the background.
The classic Iron
Maiden. Grim Reaper.
From the Trooper.
From the Seventh Son cover, from Live After Death. I mean, fucking ridiculous. It's we talked about how this album has like a bunch of those throwbacks to like the previous stuff. It makes you take like a journey through Maiden. The Empire of the Clouds single cover is one of those moments. Like, it's that good.
It's one of those threads that run through Iron Maiden, from the Iron Maiden album through now, is the art. And Book of Souls, it may be, like, I'm not overstating it, it may be the pinnacle of their artwork. I mean, this could be the culmination of the art Iron Maiden's put out. And to me, the art, I mean, I think you think the same way, 10 out of 10 art.
Absolutely, man. 10 out of 10
11 out of 10 art. I mean, it's
perfect.
Yeah.
It's on par with, if not better than, Powerslave, Somewhere in Time, Seventh Son, Number of the Beast, Peace of Mind, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you mean it's Somewhere in Time is your favorite art, and you're saying it might be better. Like
it's potential.
From everything that goes with it,
with all that's included. We just talked about how many potential album covers you could have. Yeah. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Wow, this has been quite the the episode here.
2.5 hour podcast here.
Now we get to rank the album.
I can't remember who went Final Frontier first, man, because it's been a while.
You said you had a number in your head. I mean, like, sitting here, I think I got a number in my head.
I got a number in my head, too.
What are you going to give the album?
My number in my head, after sitting here and having, maybe it's just my life and my experiences and being in Mexico and doing all this stuff and doing these things. Initially, I remember telling Matt this a while ago. When I first heard the album, I was like, oh, because Manasars is on there and it's so shitty, this album can only ever get a 9 out of 10. And that was where I capped it. I said, that's it. It's a 9. But you know what? After sitting here talking about it and all that stuff and having all these moments and stuff with it and listening to it and loving it and actually being able to see this shit live,
Yeah, which we'll talk about next episode.
It's like, it's a 9.5 for me out of 10. It's a 9.5 out of 10 for me. That's where I'm sitting with it. I was initially debating it, and then today when we started talking about this, and I knew we were going to do this podcast today, I was like, you know what? I cannot give it any fucking less than that. I mean, it's just that good.
Yeah, to me, like, I think, what did I give Brave New World? It was like 9.4?
I gave it a 9.5. I gave it
Or
a
9.5,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
I'm going to give this album here, just for what it means to me personally, and with the connections that I have now, and, like, really the past, 3 years of my life, and I've listened to this album a lot. I'm going to give it 9.6.
9.6 out of 10. That's great, man.
I mean, the only thing, like, if it wasn't for Man of Sorrows, if it wasn't for, Speed of Light, and if it wasn't for Tears of the Clown,
10.
I would have gave it a 10. Yeah, it would have been a matter of life and death.
Absolutely.
Honestly, like, it could have been better than a matter of life and death if you would have kind of took out some of that extra stuff that they added in.
No question about it, man. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that when we were talking. I was like, you take that stuff out,
It could have been Powerslave, matter of life and death
it's 10.
level. Peace of mind level, somewhere in time level stuff. But
Yeah, and like I said earlier, when you got Empire of the Clouds and Red and the Black on here, it makes up for those duds. I mean, it makes up for them tremendously. Those are two songs that are just like, you can't.
I could just kind of overlook them,
Yeah, exactly.
Just be like, I'm going to grade it,
And just to recap, guys, the Book of Souls album, how much we love it. I gave it a 9.5. Matt gave it a 9.6. We're going to go back and look at the Silver Age stuff here real quick. We're talking about Brave New World. 9.4 for me. I think a 9.5 for Matt. Dance of Death, I gave an 8.5. I think Matt gave an 8.
Yep.
Matter of Life and Death, 10.
10.
Both of
Perfect
those.
album. Yeah.
Amazing. Final Frontier, I believe I gave an 8.5 as well, and I think Matt also gave that a little bit higher than. I think he gave it an 8.2 or something like that.
Yeah, I gave it a little higher than Dance of Death
Yeah.
because maybe an 8.1. It was something like that. I just had to give it a little notch above Dance of Death.
A little higher than Dance of Death for Matt, and then obviously we come to Book of Souls. So we're sitting here talking, and we're saying right here on the podcast that Book of Souls is our second favorite album since the reunion. Yeah, that's pretty powerful, especially since Brave New World was so fantastic.
Brave New World was just like solid the whole way through, but this one had this couple songs that are just a notch above. Empire of the Clouds, Red and the Black, and Book of Souls. I mean, just a notch above anything on Brave New World, but still amazing
And
stuff.
like we said with Brave New World, it kind of lacked an epic. This has two pretty big epics on it.
That's 3, really.
Yeah, 3 if you include Book of Souls. And the fact that it's tied into a thematic album that's kind of a throwback to Powerslave, that's something that's you have to take that into consideration. And the artwork, and the production, and how almost every guitar player has a solo in every song. I mean, fucking come on, man. It's ridiculous. Again,
if you haven't listened to this album a few times through at least and given it a chance, now maybe you gave it a chance and you didn't like it, more power to you. I mean, that's your opinion, and I'm sorry to say that because man, it's a lot. This album means a lot to me. But if you haven't given this album a chance, you need to go listen to this album. You need to listen to all the Iron Maiden reunion era albums and give it a chance.
absolutely. And again, guys, I'm gonna close this podcast out by saying thank you for listening to A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beasts. I'm Joe Labriola.
And I'm Matt Wagner.
In the words of Janet Gears with a little spin on it, if you like the Book of Souls, God bless you. And if you don't, God bless you too. Talk about live chapter next time, guys. Book of Souls live chapter. Thanks again. Take care.